A boy wakes up in the middle of nowhere, confused and wondering where he is because the place around him feels very strange. He glances around at the boxes and wonders if he's trapped underground or stuck inside a taxi trunk. As he shifts, his finger brushes a spiderweb that startles him, and realizing he's trapped in a narrow, dark box with a pounding headache and cold sweat, he takes a deep breath to try and remember what happened last night that led him there. The very first thing he remembers is standing alone in an empty parking lot. After pushing himself a bit, he remembers his name is Kim, that he's 30, and that he works as an employee. After thinking it over, he realizes he probably got drunk at the end of the night and ended up in a strange place, even though he never liked drinking and would normally have rushed straight back to his dorm for something more important. When he got home late at night, he had more serious matters to handle that needed his full focus. The moment he got home, he popped open an energy drink to keep himself wide awake and ready for the long night ahead. We soon discover that all he truly wanted was to stay up all night non-stop playing an online RPG game. He spent the entire night glued to his game, chugging energy drinks and never leaving his spot because he was totally hooked on the RPG. But it just doesn't make sense to wake up in the middle of nowhere after a good night's sleep at home, so scared he starts to think he's dreaming because he's had this same dream before. Suddenly, the box holding the boy starts to drop, giving him a small cut and making him even more terrified. Footsteps ripple across puddles as an invisible voice urges her to halt. When he hears the voice, the boy pieces together everything that has happened and finally realizes he is sitting inside a wooden carriage. It's really weird to see carriages here in 21st century Korea, a place so full of high-tech stuff. The masked man peered at the carriage and asked how the piglet was doing or if the packages were being carried safely. He grinned wickedly and said he caught him because the guy was too obedient and believed everything he was told. As more masked figures gather and chat, noting that the man called the piglet resembles a father from the side, the hero inside the carriage overhears it all and likely realizes they are speaking about him. The two men kept chatting until one praised his friend's work, shouting that it was done perfectly this time, and then they declared it would be the glorious revenge of Sing-Aolan, a line that shocked the protagonist because he knew it all too well. This line from the game World Forgotten by God, which he played last night, surprises him because that main story shouldn't be happening in real life. The main story revolves around the fall of the third prince, a huge turning point for the whole game. The boy starts to think this might be a joke because the words he just heard are exactly what he said yesterday. Deep in the woods, a pair of quiet, hurried footsteps begins to draw nearer. Trapped inside the box, the protagonist listens to everything and tries to figure out what's happening. The man who steps forward is one of the kidnappers who took the boy, and once he gets to the carriage, he lifts the coffin lid to reveal the trapped main character's face, which now belongs to a chubby boy. When the boy finally gets free, he freezes with his mouth open because the game character he thought was just fake is actually standing right there. The skin comes from Pig Prince, who is also the third prince of the Magic Empire, one of the biggest factions around. In the game, the pig acted like a baby until it actually fainted. He adored the guy's personality, but his laziness was such a problem that just being around him caused trouble. Because of his troublesome personality, people started calling him Paid Prince, and even made gold coins with that name on them. The prince lived a life of overindulgence that filled his days with feasting and drinking until it earned him countless enemies. Surrounded by enemies, he was captured by revolutionaries and faced a fate that would soon lead him to the afterlife. After finally seeing the whole picture, the main character realizes he has truly become part of this game. After rehearsing the scene so many times, the boy knows exactly what will happen next and starts to guess the lines perfectly, until finally, after everyone finishes talking, several hands start pulling the prince out of the box. Threw to the ground with all his might, he begged to be let go, terrified of losing his life. The white-haired man points at the main character and declares, "In the name of the Republic, you are going to heaven today." It's scary to watch this mess happen exactly like the story in the game. The only reason this character exists in the whole tale is to get his head chopped off and sent to his dad, the Emperor. Unfortunately, the main character has turned into a throwaway figure who exists only to be used and then discarded. Usually, anime body-swapping stories are totally different from this. In the stories the MC used to read, heroes always turned out either super handsome or incredibly powerful. In this moment of despair, the blonde boy starts thinking about who the main character is that reached max level in the game. Most likely, he means the hooded one, who looks like the strongest person there. This person looks incredibly strong, acts like a total mystery, and never takes off his mask. As the man gets closer, the chubby boy panics because he has no power left and no idea what to do next. The old man steps forward with his sword, ready to finish his quest and deliver a message to the Emperor. A sharp blade is held right in front of the pig's face as someone demands his last words. With barely any time to think, he screams out a warning and begs to know how this mess happened. Until yesterday, he was just a nobody in a world that didn't even notice him. Now he's about to lose because he accidentally swapped bodies with a character who only knows how to drink. Then a thought hits the boy and he cries out about a dog. Laughing so hard, the big man asks if the pig enjoys dogs, joking that hearing them bark is a great way to go. The desperate boy screams again to wait just a minute, saying he wants to say something important. But already fed up with the wasted time, the old man shouts that there are no more seconds left for regret. With nothing left to do, the sword rushes through the air straight for the boy, bringing a sad end to a life where he was always just someone to be used and thrown away. He was raised all by himself, never knowing the warmth of a mother or father, and his lonely childhood was filled with sadness. From the orphanage to the factory floor as an adult, he was treated like a replaceable tool, just another worker picking up parts until someone else could take his place. Even after turning 30, he was still stuck working at a conference supply store. His home was a cramped little dorm room that left almost no room to turn around. He wanted to study for a tough civil service exam, but he wasn't sure he could pass because he had so little time and so much to learn. The only bright spot in his life was his laptop, the only thing that let him play the game where he lived, and he was so hooked on having fun as his max-level character that he never wanted to stop. Just before his bodies swapped, a message popped up in his game asking if he was ready to begin a second life. That proposal hooked the boy and made him desperate to find out what was in it. With his crooked, mysterious finger, he began to type because he was desperate to know what happened next. He sent a message saying he was ready to begin his second life. The person didn't keep us waiting long before they replied and showed they were interested. The man asked the boy if he was really ready to start a second life, warning him that it wouldn't be easy. The MC was puzzled by their serious reply, especially since he had only been teasing. But then it struck him that the other person's life was likely just as tough, so he answered that they should do their best together. The dog god replies that this shows a wonderful attitude full of excitement. As the days go by, a new message arrives saying they hope the boy lives to make his own dreams come true. This makes the boy wonder why everyone is so desperate to stay alive out there. The moment the hero presses the button, a strange energy begins to glow. That same energy drags him into the computer, pulling his whole body to a strange new place. Trapped inside the computer, he thinks about all the things he hasn't done yet in his life. Then we are back in the present, just seconds before he loses his life. The idea that there is still more to achieve gives the main character the strength to act with power right then. His anger toward the system is so intense that it makes red lasers blast every man around him. He doesn't know what power is growing inside him, not even the boy who is confused by the changes in his own body. His power unlocked and the world froze in place just enough for him to move. Luckily, time froze right before the sword struck him, so he lived. The boy is still totally confused, wondering if time has truly stopped or if he's just lost. He felt like time had frozen because his mind was locked on something so important. Suddenly, a message flashes across the sky, announcing that the game has just begun. The boy is left even more puzzled by the sky message, the very first sign that starts the game and begins his second life, but then another surprising message appears and makes him wonder again. It says that the player Kim is now taking control of the character Gillison. That window appearing above is something the boy recognizes, and it makes him jump with excitement. He remembers playing this game so much that he's seen that same message over 100 times. Suddenly, a notification popped up saying it had started, which only made the boy feel even more nervous. At last, the part of the story he used to read in those old comic books actually appears. After spending half his life playing this game, he's so confident he can rewrite everything and become the ultimate player, even though God has forgotten him and he's already done so many main and side quests. He saw himself as a master who knew every secret corner of the game and could conquer anything he touched. There is just one question left spinning in the protagonist's head. Why did he step into the arena as the prince? Well, as long as there's air in his lungs, he'll always find a way to slip away and grow even stronger. Another message pops up saying his first new life has finally begun, and he gets so excited that he knows his promise has come true. This is your very first big decision in the whole game, where you pick the destiny card system to decide how he fights. The class you pick is chosen at random and sets the character's starting traits. But luck isn't guaranteed, so he could easily pull a useless card that leaves him stuck right in the middle of this mess. This is an incredibly tense moment because he never thought his fate would be decided by a simple deck of cards. He screams that even if he ends up in heaven or hell, he's still going to play his best card. Before pull-line, he shuts his eyes and prays with every bit of heart he has for a lucky card. He takes a deep breath and realizes that at least one of the 3 cards must be Class B. But if the cards he pulls are just useless junk, the game ends before it even begins, yet luckily the game is kind to new players and the boy isn't asking for much, just one shot. He rushes to pick a class, insisting he just needs something useful, so he'll grab any S-rank class he can find. Truth is, if you're a master of the game, any S-rank fighting style will work. Holding 3 cards, he knows they hold the power to shape his very future. The first card he pulled was a Class D actor, a terrible choice for getting out of this mess. All his hope rested on that second card, but instead, he drew a lowly F-rank slave gladiator. The cards he pulled are useless and won't save him, leaving the boy frustrated as he stares at them in desperation, wondering where the easy start went since the game is brutally hard from the very beginning. Luckily, one final card remains, his last chance, as the boy's whole future hangs on luck. The moment his fingers brushed the card, a dazzling light burst forth, leaving the boy breathless with excitement because he had somehow drawn a rare X-rank card. A bright message pops up, announcing that the Archmage has shown up in the Destiny cards. The boy goes wild with joy, knowing this lucky card just drew him out of trouble right at the start. The boy beamed with joy because he pulled the Archmage, a super powerful card that stays strong until the very last turn. This special card has only a 1 in 10,000 chance of showing up, and the boy never thought he would ever find something like this. With the cards in hand, he thinks about his next move and how he will beat his enemies. His power has frozen time, leaving the Pig Prince stuck in place just moments before defeat. Deep in his head, the hero realizes everything feels wrong because the world treats him like a background extra instead of a real person. Even though he woke up in a chubby body, he's still the prince of a magical empire. Since magical blood flows through his veins, it likely helped him pick the Destiny card, and the boy is thankful for this amazing luck. Peering at the card, he instantly declares he'll use the new class he just unlocked. But before he chose his class, he paused to think about something that had caught his eye. Watching his own body, he realizes that no matter how high his rank, the assassin's blade is ready to end his life at any second. With ropes binding him, he has barely a second to move and keep himself from dying. The trouble with picking the Archmage path is that he must first use magic to round up all the men around him. Gathering magic in this tense moment will be a nearly impossible task. And right after gathering that magic, he's got to chant a long spell. As he thinks it over, he knows it will take too long and he won't be able to dodge the sword blow. But if he picks that class, his bad luck is already locked in and there's no turning back. The boy sadly realizes he can't keep his best card, so he has to choose between the 2 worst ones to play. He has to think fast and find a clever way out of this mess. He must toss aside the Archmage card to stay alive, even though it means throwing away all his power. The boy's heart races with worry, his body stiffening as he panics over why this card had to appear right now. He refuses to quit despite his frustration, obsessing over how to survive since he spent his whole life waiting for a chance like this. Standing on the edge of tears, he realizes this game is driving him crazy and his only hope is to pick one of the terrible D or F rank cards, forcing him to desperately decide which one is the lesser of 2 evils. The air is thick with tension as the boy realizes that one wrong move will mean either death or heaven, so he knows he cannot afford to make a single mistake. The air grows thick with tension as the main character finally pulls the Destiny card he chose. Everyone was shocked when the chosen card turned out to be the F-rank slave gladiator. This pro knows his game so well that he's certain you can survive even with a terrible hand like this. A message pops up announcing that the F-rank Destiny card has been given to the chubby prince. Bad luck, because picking that amazing card means the other 2 disappear, and suddenly he can't use it. The Archmage card, holding a power beyond belief, starts to melt away in a heartbreaking way. With a heavy heart, the protagonist promises himself he'll find that Archmage card again someday. After losing his best card and feeling terrible, a message flashes in the sky announcing the game will resume in 5 seconds with no breaks, so the boy stealing himself decides to face it calmly and get out of this mess. With just a few seconds left before the game starts, he pauses to wonder how he ended up inside the Pig Prince's body. Even though he's not the hero, he's ready to seize every opportunity to survive and give his all in this second chance at life. Even though the boy is just a side character, he'll do his best with the playable character he got. He remembers the old tale where the hero lost his head, but this new version puts the main character in charge, and since they are different people, the boy is determined to give his all. The trouble was that he spent those final seconds lost in thought, leaving him unable to figure out how to use his powers. With just 2 seconds left and the air thick with tension, he frantically tries to figure out how to activate his powers, but there isn't enough time to find the right buttons, leaving the hero to face a chilling realization that he might not make it out alive. As the match kicks off and the card is finally chosen, time rushes forward and the whole tale starts to play out. Once again, the prince falls under the player's control, and from now on, the player makes every single one of his choices. Just as time runs out, he suddenly remembers how to press the skill buttons and hits them. Hopefully there's enough to get him out of this mess. The old man stares in shock, stunned that his target still stands after his deadly sword swing, and wonders what in the world is going wrong with his blade. Luckily, the slave class's special powers fired off chains that caught the sword right at the last second, saving the heir to the throne. All the assassins are stunned because the very last thing they expected was for their target to survive, so now the pig is desperately trying to break free from his ropes to escape his enemies. The impatient assassin leader grabs his target and demands to know how anyone could still be breathing after almost getting slashed by his sword. A message popped up on the screen confirming a new skill was activated, offering hope that the chubby prince might finally be freed, thanks to the slave gladiator's lucky single defensive power that came just in time. If your body is held fast, you can dodge one enemy's blow every single day. Stuck tied up with a sword right at his head, the archmage's skills would have been useless anyway. Even though it's a bad mess, the gladiator's skills are way more useful for saving a life right now than the mage's are. After surviving the ordeal, the boy is still in terrible pain and can't believe he actually made it. With their goal firmly set, the assassins move forward, determined to bring down the heir. But sadly, you can only use that power once all day, so your next hit will knock the man's head clean off. All that's left for the MC is to stop and think, using his deep knowledge of the game's darkest secrets to turn them into his own advantage. He even knows the name of the old battle priest who now believes in Aelm, the god of vengeance. The rest of his followers are crazy people who worship that same strange god. With all that in mind, the chubby prince hatches a clever plan to turn their fanaticism into his own advantage. Then he shouts Baima Damar's name to everyone, cursing him in front of the crowd. When he hears his name, the battle priest freezes in shock, unable to believe the prince could know so much. Following the plan, the protagonist keeps mocking them until they stand there in shock, sweating bullets. He challenges the men, urging them to use their own intense belief to see that their master is still in charge, even while wearing another person's body. They stand frozen, staring at the figure before them and wondering if this is really the god they have always believed in. The prince stands up to keep the show going and says he really is Aeolum. He walks right through the crowd of hooded followers, declaring himself their master. As he keeps talking, he thinks to himself, please, because he didn't know he could come up with such a clever plan, and then excitedly declares that the hooded ones must follow him and worship him wherever he goes. He, a master of lies, claims he deserves praise because he is the god of vengeance. From this moment on, the character steps into the role of the vengeance god that the people in the game worship. They have no choice but to accept that the man standing before them is truly Aelm. Once more, he cries out, daring his followers to raise their swords against the very god they worship. This leaves them dumbfounded, because if that man is truly who they think he is, making a mistake would be terrible. The three henchmen glance at one another, lost and unsure if they're walking toward rescue or ruin, while the assassins' own scared faces show that everyone knows he's lying. When the boy spots this, he freezes in a cold sweat and knows he must find a way to save himself right now. With a sneer, the old man thinks no god would choose such a weak and silly body, so his last trick is to keep pretending, while the chubby prince threatens his people and claims nobody knows what shape he'll take when he lands on Earth. He keeps warning the men with scary, violent threats to show he is truly the god of revenge, because acting like a crazy person is the only way to stay alive. It doesn't matter if the boy is acting like a total drama queen in the game, because this god is supposed to be that wild kind of person anyway. In a world forgotten by the gods, 12 of them still rule everything, acting like bullies who love messing with mortals, which is funny. However, the boy can't explain why that is, because his head might get cut off in just a few minutes. As the show went on, he told them to be thankful that he came down from the heavens just to visit them, noting that any other god would have been a real problem. Of all the gods, Aelum dives into the world most often because he craves revenge and watches every war, often stepping in to turn personal fights or national battles into his own game. Luckily, the developer gave the hero a perfect opening to shine. Finally, the leader admits he was wrong, starts apologizing, and realizes how silly it was to insult the chubby prince. The prince feels a rush of joy watching everyone fall for his fake identity, because this clever lie is the only thing keeping him alive. Still doubting it, the assassin dares the man to prove he is truly a god by blessing his followers. They need proof that he is who he says he is, so the boy must find a way to escape this tense moment. He thinks about what the true God would do, realizes he wouldn't give blessings, then decides to follow his own plan by promising mercy from his heart and finally speaking directly to the assassin leader. He pointed to the shiny golden statue built for him last week and acted incredibly rude, grumbling that it was made of only gold and could have been much better. The old man stood speechless and embarrassed as people started criticizing his gift. He leans deeper into his role and shouts at his followers again, asking if they really think such pathetic gifts can fool him. To the player, the NPCs must truly act as if a god has just landed on Earth and is talking right now. He thinks that if even his own priest is like this, the rest of the followers must be so gullible they'll easily follow any other god. The man grew so embarrassed he began sweating nervously, feeling punished while insisting he was just trying his best. But the point being made is that real faith must be proven by what we do, not just what we say, and honestly, the message from his hair is that he now wants only clean money as offerings. He says that having a lot of money is the best way to show they really believe in this faith. The shady killers feel humiliated that their boss is getting yelled at for sending a plain statue, while the blonde kid threatens to spill every secret he knows since he's already completed every quest in the game and is counting on it to help him get out alive. After a long chat, the old man finally gives in and tells his men to let the chubby prince go. A message pops up telling the boy he finished his first quest and is so happy he's finally free from the danger. As the old man approaches, he admits he's ashamed for not recognizing his god, but the boy lands the final blow by saying he's sore from the men, calling it an outrage and telling them to bite their tongues. The priest doesn't call out the bluff, though it might not work, and seems ready to treat it as a real mission. The killers start arguing over whether to listen to Adam if he really is right in front of them. They also say he's turned the prince into a public enemy, with everyone calling him a pig because of his terrible reputation. But after a few seconds, they start to think maybe acting this way is just what pigs are naturally made to do. The blonde boy looks nervous, wondering if they're catching on to his plan or if they're just making him sweat from fear. As he draws nearer, the leader turns to his god and says he is truly honored to finally meet him in person. As the man asks questions, the MC realizes he only survived because people fear the character so much. He says that if the gifts for the altar had been better, the borrowed body would have grown stronger and more grand. And the blame for it all falls on the followers, who insist that better gifts could have changed everything. An urgent question is raised in the circle: why has the god descended to Earth without revealing himself, a query that stabs the boy like a dagger to his chest. The spark of curiosity in the priest's mind makes him wonder if his master has something urgent to do in the world. The assassin doesn't buy the hero's tale for a second, but he still sees something useful in him for later. Shaking off his disguise, the boy snaps that he shouldn't have to list every excuse or explain himself. He wonders if they doubt his word, so to prove it he'll take his pants off, just as AOL does. Everything fits his character perfectly, and his performance again makes his fans want to apologize. It's clear the man is just putting on a show to keep his team calm, but that's exactly the young hero's plan. He wants everyone to relax so he can slip away. A strange sight grabs the prince's eye, and a chill of unease runs through him about everything that's happening. One follower stays back in silence, saying not a word as he watches everything happen. Everyone thinks the masked man is the game's true hero, just biding his time until the perfect moment to strike. This leaves him uneasy, wondering who the mysterious stranger is, especially since in this game the main character has no set past. Maybe he doesn't belong to any of the three major groups in this world. First, there's the Baltic Magic Empire where the Pig Prince comes from. The second group is the brave army that constantly fights against the Empire. And at last, we find the mysterious council of the 5 beast tribes. In the story, the Empire and the Revolution have always hated each other, so when the third prince's journey to heaven was forced by the revolutionaries, it was a clear warning shot fired right at the Emperor's head. After remembering the whole story, the MC realizes the people facing him won't let him go to heaven because they need to send a message to the Emperor, so he starts thinking hard on how to survive. He has to find a quick answer, because the revolutionary army will never let the prince live. Amidst the rising tension, the MC realizes that playing his best card to save his life didn't work, since the assassins are still clearly out to kill him. With no hope left, the boy must think fast to save the Pig Prince, whose life the hero has just spared from the fate of going to heaven. With his sharp mind and quick thinking, he's already dodged several dangerous situations in just these few minutes of living. The boy finally realizes he's playing the main character in a game, and that thought makes him happy. He never boasts about finally waking up as the main character, the dream he'd waited his whole life for. Even though the crisis in the game keeps going, the old man gets more and more impatient and wants to know what the chubby prince said. He says it's nothing, just a tiny glitch in his link to this mortal form, but the air is thick with tension as everyone waits to see if he'll make it through. But the boy decides to give it his all to survive this nightmare, knowing that once he hits rock bottom, there is no way for things to get any worse, so he locks himself into his role with total determination to make it work. He shouts that the third prince, Porco, will be his new main apostle from this moment on. He commanded that no one touch him, leaving all the assassins stunned by such a strange choice. He then makes an even crazier claim, saying that in the future, the chubby one will join the revolutionary army. When he said it, all his followers froze and looked at each other, confused because this new plan went against everything they believed. The game warns that if he flies up to the sky now, it will be counted as losing the team. Outside the game, the young man is thrilled because he cleverly solved the problem and laughs at the whole mess. No matter how crazy they get, they still worry about the harsh punishment waiting for them. Now that all his pieces are on the board, the schemer can finally rest, knowing he's safe for the time being. Suddenly, the leader of these occultists bursts into laughter, as if he'd already figured out the trick and wasn't playing their silly game at all. Once more, the boy grows nervous and wonders why things are happening when he thought he was in control. With a cruel and demanding voice, the old man asks if he can really believe what the suffering person is saying. Leaning in with aggressive intent, he insists that the god of vengeance never lies, leaving the MC wondering if they said the wrong thing. He says it's hard to believe that the royal family's blood will one day fight alongside the revolution. Suddenly, their very own god pops up to say the third heir prince is coming to join their side. Hoping the boy makes a mistake, he tells them he'll take him to the army's headquarters in Oryx's capital and to the cathedral. The boy panics as he realizes he's about to be taken to the revolutionary army's headquarters, the very group that wants to overthrow the empire, meaning he's walking straight into enemy territory and his life is in grave danger. As the old man tells the bishop about alms coming, the boy gets scared because he knows the place is full of killers. Right in the middle of everything, he realizes that ending up in the cathedral will get him into serious trouble because it's a dangerous high-level area where the archbishop will spot him and expose all his lies. If that really happens, the assassins will turn on the hero once more, ready to send him up to the heavens for good this time. The boy is terrified, fearing he'll be tied up again and have his life put in danger. Back in the present, the leader orders his goons to get the boy's coffin ready, acting as if he's just happily walking right into death. Determined to stay out of the empire, he starts wondering if threatening them like the god of vengeance is still any use. A question forms in his mind: if he makes it to the empire, what will happen next? When travelers reach the empire, they'll find all the stories are false, and the angry followers of the god of revenge will hunt them down for speaking the truth. That awful thought sends shivers down the spotty kid's back, and he absolutely does not want to go up to the sky yet, which scares him to death. His mind wanders through every possible future, causing a follower to stop and ask if he is alright. He grew so worried he started hoping a rescue team would arrive. After all, he was the crown prince and still mattered. The real trouble is that inside the empire, there's someone pretending to be real who also wants Glone dead. It was this very man who urged the rebel soldiers to snatch the third prince and whisk him up to the sky. He has no choice but to march into enemy land, since going back to the empire would only leave him under attack from every direction. After a while, the old man tells his god that the carriage is all ready to drive him into the land of the revolution. Even though this is his last chance to stay alive, one tiny slip-up will reveal his secret. As he steps into the carriage, a planet forms in his mind and he acts out his plan by pretending to be angry and refusing to enter the filthy space. As the show goes on, he tells his follower to spend a little more on the carriage next time, calling him a cheap priest. When the boy stepped calmly into the carriage, still cursing everyone around him, the old man began to truly believe that this was his god. Seeing the man's shocked face, the MC asks why he looks so surprised. Then he shouts so everyone can hear that the third prince is leaving the empire to join the revolutionary army's headquarters. Everyone is shocked because if the boy weren't the god of vengeance, he would be too scared to even enter the headquarters. He laughs and says again that they must bring the prince back to the capital. He stands before the walled city of Oryx, its beautiful building standing tall, and realizes that going back to the empire now means certain defeat. He is so smart that he thinks his trip to the capital will be the perfect chance to get stronger and better. He loves a challenge and says the hard place he's heading to isn't a problem as long as he stays focused on solving it. Thrilled and convinced this is just another game, the pro gamer pushes past the fear, boldly heading into enemy lands while secretly ordering his hitmen to guard the chubby prince's body so the royal won't get hurt on the journey. He shouts for them to move fast and get some rice and good alcohol ready to eat and drink on the way. The leader gets angry because he thinks throwing away those supplies is a huge waste. The blonde one insists that using those supplies will let him share God's messages and miracles with his followers. The younger assassins bowed and believed his words. He foretells that within 15 days, many people in Oryx will be lifted up to the sky. This shocks everyone, especially the young, since they never imagined such a big disaster could hit their own city. But he promises that by taking the prince's place, you can stop this terrible disaster from happening. He pushes for them to follow a prophecy, and that tickles the old man's nerves. The boy's clever plan has worked, forcing his men to keep the pig alive and escort it all the way to headquarters. As the prince traveled, he ate the finest and most delicious food he could find. As a glutton, he raves about the venison, declaring it tastes amazing while devouring serving after serving. He cheers on his weary followers, noting that their grilling skills are so amazing they could open a barbecue restaurant. He proposes that they open a restaurant named Priest of Vengeance once they arrive in Oryx's capital. The old man grumbles at the loud chatter, telling him to eat in quiet because he can't stand the blonde woman ranting nonsense, but finally he admits he can't leave the table to miss such a great meal and pulls out a bottle with a snake inside. When he opens it, he says this famous drink will make you dizzy from just one sip and burn your throat. He didn't stop drinking during the whole trip, gulping down every drop even though he knew too much alcohol would hurt him. His ability to drink huge amounts of alcohol makes his story about being the god of vengeance who loves to drink so convincing that his followers believe him. Reflecting on it, he jokes that his final words before dying will be, "I want to drink the assassin's finest liquor," but once he gets drunk and starts talking nonsense to everyone's annoyance, the old man tells him to shut up again. Then the MC jokes that the leader's grumpiness just means he can't handle a drink and gets easily annoyed. He praised the menu, noting that it's been ages since he tasted something so delicious. He believes that mixing the freshly hunted venison with spicy seasonings is exactly what makes the meal taste so amazing. He says it's been forever since he tasted fresh lamb, and he's worn out from staring at dry, boring food. They spent 3 days and 3 nights on a tiring journey before finally arriving at the capital. As the boy traveled, he felt like he was about to die because the old man stayed right behind him, acting very strange the whole way. In the game, Jillison is stuck in a loop of endless parties, drinks, and luxury where the only thing he ever does is eat. On top of that, the hero is staring at a character sheet with an even bigger problem. His stats aren't great, but his terrible endurance of -9 really stands out. It's amazing that this guy is still standing even though he has so little energy. In this game, a tiny newborn often has more stamina than the prince, starting with a strength score of 12. The prince is growing weaker and could die before he gets there. But the assassin's boss says he can't spare a healing potion for the boy right now since they are being chased and it might be needed later. With no other choice, the boy must trust his protectors to keep him safe and hope his strength doesn't fade too fast, but the man agrees to give him the potion only if the boy can help fight off their pursuers. He opens the menu, talks to Barmilo, and tells him he has a favorite order. When Barmilo hears this, his eyes go wide because knowing a god owes him a favor is like having free money to use whenever he wants. It's a strange favor, as the man asks him to smack his bottom for a reason that nobody gets. The man is so stunned by what he heard that he forgets everything else, accidentally drops the potion, and loses touch with reality. Then he snapped back, turning to his master to ask what was just said, completely unable to believe what he'd heard. But the boy insists on his request, repeating his plea for the man to hit his bottom while holding it out for all to see. The old man, shocked and confused, asks the prince what he's trying to do, wondering if he's lost his mind from the long journey. All the followers stood frozen in shock, never imagining they'd ever see the heir of the throne's private parts like this. Fuming that they're ignoring him, he yells and demands to know if they're actually going to disobey a god's order. After turning on the god of vengeance mode, he gets the man to agree, leading to a scene so ridiculous it feels like a story being told. When the slaps land, a special power kicks in and brings his stamina back. The boy feels refreshed after getting a slap on the backside and shouts to everyone that he feels much better now. This happens because the slave's power boosts their resilience, making them tougher every time they take a beating that doesn't kill them. The priest thought to himself that he'd always suspected Aelin was crazy, but he never imagined his tastes could be so strange. When the god claims his preferences don't matter, the boy points out the confusion, because this gladiator's destiny card is odd, drawn to pain, and its special powers are built for someone with such strange tastes. After a while, the wait is over and the power can be used again to bring the MC back to life. Then, obeying his master's commands, the man strikes him again, this time catching him off guard. The boy gets annoyed, claiming he needs more time to brace for the incoming damage and asking why the priest is hitting him harder than before. After hitting the wrong spots, the man suddenly feels a fresh buzz running through his whole body. After that, the followers all rush to try hitting the master's backside to feel the magic of youth, leading to a chaotic scramble that only makes the blonde annoyed enough to shout for everyone's attention and demand they listen to her important words. The mess gets so bad that one of the followers grabs a stick to finally get things under control. Feeling scared by their wild zeal, the chubby one thinks it over and pleads with them to stop calling everyone crazy. Back to a serious mood, the silent guy is still a mystery. It's weird that he's just watching everything happen without saying a word or doing anything. On this very day, the masked man stares with a look even more mysterious than ever. The absurd spectacle grows wilder as they lash out with ropes and vines to hurt him without killing him, and every time he takes a blow, his power wakes up to refill his energy and make him tougher. Once more, the big man says nothing, just watching everything around him with a quiet but scary energy. After taking many hits that feel like tough training, the character's endurance has grown to 37. As the minutes drag on and the boy loses all feeling in his backside, his friends keep hitting him without stopping. Around the campfire, the leader turns to his master and jokes that he still looks like a baby pig. The boy jokes back, realizing it's actually fun to sit by the fire with friends, talking and eating all night. Even though these men started out trying to defeat him and aren't on his side at all, watching them is still a lot of fun. After a while, the priest turns to the third prince and speaks up about something on his mind. Suddenly, his face fills with worry as he shouts that something terrible is happening. The plan crumbled because he never thought the boy would survive or that the hair would turn into an apostle Elam. He mentioned that the original plan was to send the blonde boy to heaven in a horrible way and then leave his body behind. But now, even if the Empire searches the forests with all their might, they will never find a body. That's a big worry, because the noble from the Empire who sent the prince to be caught and beaten is probably furious and feels betrayed. Being smart, the boy wondered if a search party was coming closer. Two mighty warriors from the kingdom are tracking the prince with their incredible skill and strength. They're likely hunting for the blonde and may have already blocked the escape route, so the MC worries if these warriors will let them pass through the teleportation gate to Oryx. Tomorrow they're expected to reach the gate, which worries the followers since they don't know if they can fight the warriors. If the search party gets there before the army, a fight is going to happen. Thinking ahead, he asks the old man who really planned to take down the crown prince, because he doesn't think it was the king. The question caught the man off guard, leaving him speechless because he can't reveal a client without breaking his mercenary code. Noticing the priest hesitating, the boy urges him to speak up since the truth will come out no matter what anyway. Then it's revealed that the man in charge of the whole mission is the Imperial Palace Minister, a man so focused on his goals that nothing else matters. The pig says that if the minister really runs the whole palace, then he must be in charge of everything. At that exact moment, the minister was furious with the mercenary team he hired, especially since they had failed to finish the job. His name was Viscount Zerk Morse, a very important member of the royal family. The Viscount teams up with the rebel army to reach his own aims and maybe grow his power. The portal to the capital sits way off in the deep woods, making it very hard to find if you don't know the area well. The blonde paused for a moment to think after confirming that the client was really who she had suspected. It was obvious he wasn't shocked to find out it was a minister, because he'd already thought about that chance. He says he understands palace games and that it makes the most sense if it really was Morse. Once, the Empire fought a fierce and bloody war to take control of the Northeast. During that fight, the minister's family roots traced back to the Khan tribe from the Northeast. For ages, this tribe has stood close to the Revolutionary Army, and now the man hopes to join them to win back the land the Empire took. The leader feels great joy because his master's theory fits the situation just right. The minister might just be seeking revenge for his ancestors, so the MC teases him, saying that he'll look foolish if they keep praising him since he can tell the minister is already stunned by their amazement. But since the tribe doesn't care about the land they lost anymore, it might mean that Viscount is playing both sides. But the boy isn't sure and can't say for sure if it's true. Even though the player knows every twist of the story and how Porco's defeat changed everything, the minister used that moment to grab huge power. After finishing the contract, he slowly reached every goal, and the apostle was amazed by the boy's words, since he never thought the prince paid such close attention to the world. He would say that most of the gossip about him was just made-up talk. From now on, his influence will gently steer things away from the original path, bringing forth new scenes that were never meant to be part of the story. Soon, events that were never meant to happen will be waiting to unfold. At the end of their talk, the paper suggests the Viscount has nearly everything in place for his plan to work. In the game, he was the type of player who always chose to use his clever thinking instead of just relying on raw strength. Most likely, his clever mind has already spotted the path the revolutionary soldiers are using to get away. In the original tale, the third prince was actually caught in the Emperor's hunting grounds. Afterward, the group kept walking until they finally reached the eastern lands. If that's true, the army standing right in their way is made up of tough guys. Seeing this, the boy panics, sure that they're doomed and can't stop the enemy squad from arriving. He lets out a scream of terror as he realizes he's about to face one of the game's toughest foes. One of the Empire's 3 magical swords, the Night Market Alone Lloyd, stands as a legendary NPC. Worried, they speed up to reach the gate and escape the search party, unaware that Merlot hasn't figured out that going straight there will just lead to their defeat. Trying to save everyone, he realizes it's impossible and fears a security team at the gate, while being chased by a fierce search party and facing one of the kingdom's most powerful figures. But as a master of this game, he must find a way to survive this crisis. So he asks everyone to wait just one more day. The old man was taken aback when he realized he was going to stay another day there. At last, the big man speaks up and says the boy's plan is to wait out the bear and the dark night before they move. The chubby one is shocked to finally hear the silent man speak after 3 days of quiet, which had made everyone think he was the game's main character. After the heavy man stays silent the whole journey, he finally speaks his first words, shocking everyone. Knowing what's going on, he asks the prince if they plan to just wait around for the rescue team to come and take him away. He steps forward with a scary look, demanding to know if he's been wrong about his theory. The MC feels tight with worry, wondering what's wrong with this guy. The boy just stayed quiet, and that silence made the mysterious man think he was right. He finally shows his true side, threatening to drag the boy's answer out of him with his sword if he stays quiet. The blonde guy tries to save himself by saying he just doesn't talk to strangers, so there's no reason to use violence. That little thing really gets under the man's skin, and in his anger, he almost starts a fight and does something foolish right then. The pig pushes back on why he should speak to someone hiding their face, but the leader cuts it off before the fight gets too rough and someone gets hurt. With his naturally funny nature, the prince joked that they had only just reached the funniest part of the whole mess. The priest tries to ease the tension, sorry for the mess, and finally brings out the masked man named Herbal. But the name still surprises the boy since he has never met this man, which feels wrong because the boy knows everything about the game. No matter how small, he knows every faction's name because he was totally obsessed with the game. Driven by curiosity, he questions the Church of Vengeance and wonders if Urgel is a priest, only to realize Urgel is actually just a companion, which makes him guess if the man is a mercenary instead. He looms back, asking what would happen if he were a mercenary who could switch sides just like players in the game, who can betray their old group to join a new one. In short, folks get to travel the globe and change sides like a mercenary. That's exactly what the man is doing right now, hopping from place to place, which makes the boy even more nervous because this mysterious figure acts like a video game character with special powers and isn't just a regular background person. He insists they now know his name and demands the pig speak up to make sense of everything, yet the boy is lost in thought, wondering if the mysterious stranger is just another person who was transported into this same game. He bluntly asks once more if the king's guards are hunting down the prince right now. If the man isn't just a simple background character, things get messy because the blonde was meant to be the only one who could gather all the items players can find. Feeling the clock ticking as a rival team gets closer, he snaps at the MC for not answering, revealing that the bear has a secret name known only in the kingdom. Carl Silem, a legendary 6-star warrior, moves silently behind others like a shadow. Some say he looks like a string of pearls draped around a pig's neck. After finishing his story, the masked man says he truly respects that warrior and cannot understand why such a talented person would be stuck being a prince, calling it a terrible waste. As the MC begins to whine about the criticism, a blade suddenly appears pointed at his face to silence his strange reactions. Then the man warns the pig to stop trying cheap tricks, because he won't fall for them, and with a sharp sword aimed at him, he threatens to cut down the boy right now if he's just waiting for rescue. He sends the boy to the heavens because he won't let anyone who annoys him live, and watching it all, the hero realizes this isn't just an NPC's reaction but the kind of revenge a player would deal out. Feeling the weight of the moment, the boy slips back into his role and asks the masked man if he is the one calling all the shots. He shouts that the priest should be giving orders, calling the man a simple mercenary to strip away his authority, and his bold, out-of-place words leave the rival completely stunned. The blonde keeps talking and asks the priest if he's really the one in charge. When the pressure mounts, the old man admits that the priest of vengeance is the one who decides the third prince's fate. The chubby one feels thrilled, praises his priest, and says he's believed in him this whole time. But in a twist, the elder admits he agrees with the mercenary side in this mess. He warns that staying put means the guards will come soon and their team will become bait for the prince, but as the danger grows with every second, he urges everyone to stay calm while admitting they are indeed being followed. Two powerful figures, a warrior and a witch famous all over the world, are heading straight for us. He insists the gatekeeper could be far more deadly than the two teammates standing there. He says only a handful of people in the kingdom are skilled enough to take on the dangerous job of rescuing the king's son. The assassin's leader is totally shocked, since he didn't think getting to the capital would be this big of a fight. Mara alone Lloyd is so famous that even the killers know his name as the leader of the special forces. The boy argues that fighting Lloyd is impossible because he is far too strong. This man is one of the Empire's 3 greatest magic warriors and the game's strongest character, with no exaggeration, having reached the player equivalent level 90 as a 9-star swordsman. Worried about the whole mission, the old man asks how this happened and why this dangerous man showed up of all people. He sneered at the masked man, daring him to face Marcus Lloyd alone. Left speechless and unsettled, he is shocked when the boy boldly asks what would happen if all the priests joined forces to fight. Scared for his life, he tells them to go their own way to the heavens if that's what they truly want. Hearing all this, the boy feels worried because he realizes the Empire's sword is already hunting him. To his surprise, the man doesn't deny the claims but looks deeply worried, warning that keeping on this path is a waste of their lives. Watching the whole scene makes the boy curious, because suddenly his rivals seem scared. As the old man wonders if warriors are really blocking the gate, the MC knows they can't charge head-on and must find a clever way around instead. The boy sneered and asked where everyone had gone, since they were just doubting him a moment ago but now had suddenly changed their minds. The leader watches his master mock everyone and gets so annoyed he starts coughing to change the topic, only to make the boy cough back even harder until the chubby one steps in to say that won't fix anything, which surprises the old man because such arguments never happened in his world or in the game. But finally, the blonde reveals his sharp side, demanding that if they care about the mess, they must prove it with real sincerity. That honest promise to gather a special item for the hero will prove their true feelings. But the boy says the man has to make a promise first before he tells him what he needs. Besides, he demands protection by any means necessary and orders them to settle it in the name of the god of vengeance. He argues that if the third prince isn't trustworthy, they should all head to a better place where they'll eventually cut down the Empire's sword, and now he demands everyone follow his orders so they can get a safe route straight to Oryx. To get everyone to keep his promises, he begins the oath circle and speaks his words aloud first. The masked man glares with disgust at the hero's words, while his followers look just as lost and uncertain about what to do next. The old man returns to the main point, saying things are going wrong but promising to follow the prince, though he hopes the gods will step in if things truly go south. Then the blonde gets so pumped about winning the leader over that she declares there's no more debate to be had. Without wasting a second, he starts moving toward his goal and asks everyone to follow him. He halts in his tracks and shouts out to see if Carl is around. Everyone goes silent, hanging on the MC's shouts to wake up the warriors. Finally realizing she might not be there and fearing the thought of her moving on to a better place, they grow alarmed. He shouts again, urging them to hurry and step out from the shadows. After a lot of shouting, Nightingale and the bear finally show up, but it's the wrong time, leaving the girl hiding in the shadows to wonder what went wrong just as she was ready to strike. It turns out the chubby guy had been tailing our group for 3 days straight, which is exactly how he knew we'd show up. The warrior questions why His Highness acted so quickly, noting that waiting a little longer would have let them trap the kidnappers. But the boy refuses to go back to the Empire in Moxard, pleading with Lloyd to stop saying mean things because his words are scaring everyone. Actually, right now in the story, the girl's name is Silen, not Lloyd, because the main character forgot that, but she happily reminds him that Marcus Lloyd is her father's close friend and the famous Midnight Warrior. In a quiet moment, Silence tells us that despite all the trouble, she is truly glad the prince is safe. Right now the girl is just guarding the hair, but she'll soon leave the Empire to lead the heavy warriors. And with that, she becomes the Midnight Knight. The MC recalls this terrifying mission that only appears in the original tale after he rises to the heavens. After finding out where she came from, Salem heads back to Marcus to finally get some answers. That's why she eventually changes her last name to Lloyd instead of keeping the one she was born with. She takes on the name of Marcus, the man with the cold face who is standing guard at the main gate. The man guarding the gate now stays sharp and ready for surprise attacks, since he is one of the kingdom's best fighters. The chubby one tries to change the story by revealing the girl's secret birth to surprise her. But before he can even finish speaking, the girl shouts at the kidnappers, telling them to let His Highness go right now. With her razor-sharp blade held high, she threatens everyone, warning that if they don't give in, she will slice them all in half. Her friends are scared because the boy showed up on his own, even though no one told him to come. Staring into the faces of his captors, who are now his companions, the blonde can read their thoughts right off their expressions. Carried by the strong girl, he worries that keeping this up will send him back to the palace, where the kingdom will try to take him down again, a fate he absolutely cannot let happen. The boy screams at his leader in anger because he feels let down while everyone else just stands there doing nothing. Something snaps Deloro's attention, and he spins around, wide-eyed and on edge. As someone draws near, the assassins tense up the moment they spot the newcomer. Deep in the woods, a redhead in black suddenly shows up looking terrifying and strong. The old man watches Irvin sway, the Red Shadow, and whispers that rumors about her are already flying through the Revolutionary Army. Some stories say she's a 200-year-old witch who keeps her youth by bathing in the blood of innocent girls. Hearing this, the hare realized that no matter how smart he was, he had still walked right into this trap. He first learned about this character when he opened the official lore book of the GFW world. He felt a rush of excitement as he read about her for the first time, convinced she was incredibly powerful. All over the internet, people were guessing everything, and the game's website was buzzing with rumors about this brand new character. But once everyone finally saw the girl, something strange happened. She turns into a stunning beauty, leaving the boy to wonder if it's right for the game makers to trick players with fake storybooks like that. As the red-headed woman walks up, the boy is still confused by her look, but she tells him she walked through the mountains for 3 days and nights on just dried meat to find the prince, which surprises him since they did the same, leading him to joke that she must be an angel who likes dry food, not a witch. Feeling hot under the collar and ready to explode, she declared that from the very start of the journey, she had been burning with a fierce desire to crush every single kidnapper. Amidst the growing danger, the prince wonders how the rescue team managed to survive for 3 whole days like that. Trying to ease the tension, the chubby one says it's all over now that they've finally found the person they were looking for. Even though Sammy is happy to be safe, a sudden slap hits him across the face. The witch is so angry at the blonde man that she slaps him hard across the face. The shock from that slap triggers her twisted skill, and in a blind rage, she screams that the boy is a pig right in front of everyone. She stomps on his face and tells him she endured endless trouble just to save him, but now that she's here, he refuses to play along and wants to wreck the entire plan, while his special mixokism power steps in to heal him. After she mocks his head as either a stepping stone or useless decoration, the shame he feels somehow helps him recover his strength. Seeing himself stuck in this mess, he wonders how he ended up with such a terrible disciple like the pig, which reminds the boy that in the original story, Jalosin was supposed to be Sueya's apprentice. Because he was so lazy, he never learned the magic tricks properly and didn't have much talent for it. Just as she readies another strike, she wishes the pig could swallow magic like he chows down on dinner. The girl doesn't mind whether the boy is from a royal family or not. She's about to roast him without a care for the fallout, which makes the chubby one think she's a surprisingly sharp-tongued witch for someone who's just a witch. After getting kicked and hit over and over, he collapsed on the ground and cried out for Barmilo. Watching the whole scene, the leader warns that no priest can fight a 9-star warrior guarding the Stargate, so they quietly surround the 2 women, ready to strike. As he gets ready for the fight, he whispers that facing 6-star warriors is a whole different game. The worried boy shouts, questioning if they are truly ready to fight, even if it means facing the heavens. The old man pulls out his sharp sword and tells the girls to speak up if they have a better idea. He tells his friends are quick-tempered and might start a fight any minute, so the blonde boy can only hope things settle down since he isn't much of a fighter. He relies on his cleverness to win her over, walking up to her with a plan ready in his mind. He then tells her he's going to follow the group to the capital city of Oryx, which really surprises the girl. She watches him head toward the capital with a puzzled look, wondering what His Highness might be up to. She worries about the boy because he's heading toward a dangerous place filled with rebels plotting to overthrow the Empire, but he tells her he knows the risks and has chosen this path anyway. As the leader of both adventurers, he commands them to stop and leave him in peace. They even speak to the witch to stop her from joining the group. Suddenly, the boy apologizes and admits he's been a terrible student all along. He drops to his knees before the girl and promises he'll never toss away her magic lessons. He shares his hope that the redhead's lessons will one day glow with all 5 colors of light. And he vows, screaming that he will win through love and magic one day. Even though the game never shows what the witch taught the prince. Even though Golosin was useless, her kind heart meant she would never just see him as a burden. He can't say when he'll finally master magic, but it's sure to happen. He admits she won't trust his words yet, but he's pleading for her to trust his disciples just this one time. The sorceress stands stunned, since she has never seen her students speak with such fierce determination. Once more, his hair begs her to believe in him just one last time. After a pause, the girl wonders if Josen used to have those magic eyes before. She thought he changed because he lost weight, but really, something else deep inside him had shifted. All of that changed suddenly when he started calling her Master, a title he never used before since he was too scared of her power to care about his own hunger or studies. His magic talent was so bad that everyone in the whole country knew it, turned him into a regular joke, and his habit of falling asleep during lessons only made him even worse at learning. Even the lazy fatty admits he's terrible at magic, which is crazy since he's now calling the girl his master after she asks if he really wanted her powerful blessing, the highest honor in the Tower of Mages. She was totally stunned and kept asking if the boy had been faking being stupid all along. As the protagonist watches the scene, sadness fills his heart knowing that Turvin isn't looking at his real body, but at the prince instead. Actually, the girl isn't looking at Glossin at all, but at something completely different. She's hunting for the real spirit of Golosin, but nobody knows where it is right now. She says she has been teaching the boy for the last 5 years. The boy can't cast spells the right way yet, but maybe just learning the basics slowly will be enough. She tells her student that even without talent, his possibilities are endless, and as his master, she lets him choose his own path. But the warrior isn't happy about it and gets very angry when talking. She is so shocked she can't believe Her Highness is saying those words. She yanks him by his collar with all her might to make sure he notices her, then suddenly starts crying and says she hoped her hair would one day mean something, which leaves the boy completely confused since he thought he was about to get hit, but she insists she will fight as a warrior and follow the prince wherever he goes. Tears streaming down her face, she whispers that she will walk the same road as His Highness, wherever fate takes them next. She promises that anyone who stands in the way will have to face Karl's sharp sword. Finally, the boy understands that the 2 strong-willed girls must have had high hopes for the third prince and were deeply worried about his future appearance, but since Kim is just a player inside someone else's body and not the real prince, his heart still warms at the touching sight, feeling as if the original owner's spirit remains within him. The warrior sobs so hard that snot drips from her nose, but the protagonist just laughs and teases her to stop crying. He insists she promised to do his bidding, yet now her tears prove she's breaking that vow by refusing to obey his orders. He keeps laughing at the blonde and repeating the words she just said without ever stopping. When the witch sees all the noise, she decides to join the MC's group of followers. A pop-up message confirms that both of them are now on the team and ready to take orders. Even though the leader looks bothered, the hero asks if the 2 can officially join the group. Since they were the prince's original guardians, the old man has no choice but to accept it. With his team finally picked, the boy jumps with joy, but his friends look bored and aren't thrilled at all. The blonde still doesn't trust them, because just 3 days ago, His Highness was taken by these same people. The angry followers of the god of revenge clearly don't like having the 2 girls around. The kidnappers' full plan to steal the throne heir was laid out, using smoke bombs and sleeping drugs slipped into the horse's drink. Trying to calm his friend, the MC tells her he gets her anger, but now that it's all over, there's a strange kind of relief. He insists that despite everything that happened, not a single person lost their life. And if that had happened, none of these past few days would have gone as smoothly as they did. Thinking it over, the chubby kid realizes that without him being alive to join the army, the whole story would have stayed exactly the same. Turning the conversation, the warrior compliments the boy on how much weight he has lost in such a short time. She wonders if her little sister's chubby cheeks have gotten thinner over the last few days. In truth, he didn't actually lose weight, he just had to keep climbing mountains non-stop while carrying his teenage son. He jokes that his soul left him with all the pain, and then the boy suddenly wonders what the girl will do if things get tough and hair starts growing in all the wrong places. He complains that the Empire made a huge mistake by letting go of such a precious girl, and then he adds some pretty dirty remarks. Talking to this character feels like a dream since he's always been on a screen, yet it's just like chatting with an old friend. That's because Carl leads the raids in the game. In the original game, you can befriend certain NPCs to join your party, and the blonde girl is a perfect example of this. Having a teammate like her made most battles feel much easier, since she always had a solid attack plan ready. With the two girls and the assassins in his party, most of the players' problems were solved and became much easier to handle. He recalls the days he treated her like a party member, leading her through every hard fight until he finally grew tired. Thinking back to how his games hurt her, he feels guilty, yet she is a true warrior who proves her great reputation is real. But the blonde's red-haired friend is a much trickier mystery to crack. She's hard to use in a battle because her plans are way too tricky. Something stops the boy in his tracks, and he realizes it was a good thing he met the sorceress. The girl saw the boy stop dead in his tracks while staring at her, so she asked him what was wrong. The blonde guy feels something strange because his chest hurts, and he can't help but wonder what's going on. The girl gets annoyed when she notices someone staring, but the MC feels like his heart is already starting to feel something. Talking to himself, he wonders what's wrong since he can't possibly feel anything for that child who calls the witch a mom. Then he worried that hearing this would make her angry. Luckily, it's all just in his head, and he realizes that at 19, he's grown up enough to be a sorceress's companion. People whisper that she's over 200 years old, so every witch carries the same name and the memories of her ancestors, turning their past into a family tradition. For many years, they look and sound exactly alike, carrying the same fears and rumors that everyone whispers about them. Maybe this character isn't treated kindly in the original game, which is why they feel this way. The warrior breaks the MC's thoughts to tell him he looks skinny and full of energy. Then she says it feels like they are living in the past again, which really surprises the team leader. She begins to explain that it feels like they're back at the juvenile palace. That's the children's palace, a school where every noble family from the empire sent their kids to learn. His charm and cleverness were so amazing that all the maids fell madly in love with the handsome boy. The boy became so famous that other noble children raced to get a chance to meet him. But then the player realizes this story didn't belong in the original game, the facts are shifting, and the armored girl laments that it's a shame the empire worships magic so blindly. In this world, a person is only worth anything if they are a master of magic, but the young prince was a complete disaster at it, unable to even guide the raw power of mana through his own body. This made her heart heavy because her friend's only hope was gone since he wasn't a good enough mage. But he refuses to let his own heart break, instead giving her a gentle pat on the back to try to lift her heavy sadness. It turns out this is Glozen's past, showing us the Emperor's most wanted heir and revealing that he never had a single talent for magic. In an empire that worshipped magic, failing to master your own power meant certain defeat. Because of this, the young boy turned cold and cruel, just like the nobles who treated him that way. His life story shows that the higher a bird flies, the harder it hits the ground when it finally falls. Right now, the boy just wants to get to the capital without getting hurt, so he tells his friend to stop wasting time thinking about the past. He says to just live in the now, because his past as a kid doesn't really matter anymore. In the end, no one in the kingdom remembers the third prince from his school days except his friend, and the boy is pleasantly surprised that people don't really know him. Everyone says the heir has the reputation of a runaway who's always out drinking, eating, and partying without stopping. He refuses to let that reputation last and tells his friend to remember one thing: he will come back with the skills needed to survive. He decides the past no longer matters and that magic talent isn't needed, so even with a terrible destiny card, he believes hard work can still give him a chance instead of becoming an archmage. Thrilled with the change ahead, he tells everyone to stand tall and get ready for what's coming. Hearing this fills her with confidence, so she believes in and trusts His Highness. As the road to the capital stretches ahead, only the two blondes are excited while the rest of the group looks exhausted, so the prince stops in Oryx to explain his true reasons and goals to his friend. He reveals that traitors are hiding inside the empire, pointing out that just two people might be behind it all. The warrior is stunned because he never thought anyone else could possibly be there besides Viscount Morse. As the years go by, more and more people turn against the empire to serve their own needs, proving that Morris is only the first of many to fall. The boy smiles and says there's no need to worry, because his long time playing the game means he already knows every single name. He asks if she knows Mara Elon Lloyd, the guard watching the northeast of the city. They explain that he is not just the warrior's dad's best friend, but also one of the empire's top 3 judges. A thought suddenly strikes the girl, making her think the warrior might be an empire traitor, but she gets so confused that she starts praising the honorable Marquis instead, unable to believe he would betray them, while the knight jumps to the wrong conclusion and Gillison only mentioned that the Marquis is blocking the path to the capital. The captain wants to catch the prince and take him back to the palace, just like the blonde girl is ordered to do. Worried, the boy asks what they will do next and if they should try to work with the warrior. Knowing the magistrate, you know right away that trick won't work. The prince could try to rebel, but that would wipe out everyone with it, so the priests are too scared to risk it and are looking for a safer way instead. The boy, fed up with his followers getting scared by the girl, told them to stop talking. Then an idea sparks in his head, so he asks his follower if she brought 2 swords for the mission, and despite being slow on his feet, he still reaches out with his clumsy hand to ask for his friend's blade. For a warrior, a sword is like a beloved lover that they cannot bear to give to anyone else. But it doesn't take long to persuade the boy to hand the sword over to the prince, who seems to have a secret plan once he grips the plain, well-kept weapon that knights of the order usually receive. Holding the blade, the boy eagerly moves toward the next step of his plan to reach the capital, but his friend's comment that the sword is fine startles him, making him fear his friend intends to use it to defeat the Marquis. Then the blonde woman asks, without really expecting an answer, if warriors have special methods taught by the order. Just like warriors have their own tricks, gamblers have their special moves for taking down an opponent. As everyone keeps walking without stopping, the protagonist knows his real adventure is just getting started. Imperial warriors stand like statues at the capital's gate, waiting with patience for their targets to arrive. There stands the great magistrate, a 9-star warrior master of the sword, who waits in patience for his goal but grumbles about how long it takes. He growls at his soldier about the delay, but the search has been thorough and the killer team is so good at causing chaos that finding them outside the empire is nearly impossible. The knight grows more annoyed by the wait, loudly grumbling that the prince will never be happy unless he causes trouble for the kingdom every single day. Very sadly, he worries about his beloved daughter who is currently with the heir. The knight's life started with a hard truth: he was born a bastard, the son of Lloyd and his maid. Under imperial law, the poor child was forced to serve as a servant, so he used his power to clear the boy's name and trusted that the count's family would raise him well. Frustrated, he grips his sword tight, wondering why the prince treats her like a warrior. It would be wonderful if that lazy third prince started acting like a real person instead of treating everyone like a servant, especially since he used to follow the real prince around, once even feeding him while he gambled away fortunes, and many times watching him drag drunk women to bed just to party and have no care for anything else. Furious over the terrible things his son suffers at the heir's hands, he decides it would be kinder to let him move on than to try to save him. But that would only make things worse, as his son would lose his reputation for failing to protect his lord and ruin his career. Thinking that this fate might be better than rotting alongside the pigs, the warrior asks what would happen if the magistrate were taken hostage. He is so talented that he claims he could beat all his enemies without ever getting hit. The thought that his daughter would finally be free if the prince fell brought him some relief, and he gave a faint smile. As his soldiers signal that the targets are here, he thinks about the emperor's order to capture them alive, but he has no intention of following it, so he charges ahead, commands his men to follow, and declares he will defeat them all. The prince's followers start screaming for the warriors to arrive and block the path, which leaves the blonde guy confused because his enemies aren't ready to fight at all, which feels completely wrong. Tucked away in the trees, the 2 girls tell the warriors to step back and clear the path so nobody gets hurt. The prince walks quietly and wonders if his warriors have lost their minds, since they can't even recognize his face. As the cloaked men draw near, the mag is puzzled, unsure if they are normal humans or something strange. With her hood pulled low so no one can tell who she really is, the girl tells His Highness that the mysterious Captain Lloyd is standing right in front of him. But the man can't wait and shouts at the hooded figures, clearly annoyed. As peace finally arrives, the girl steps forward to talk to the knight, catching him off guard since he never thought she would be there. She introduces herself as Count Silen's eldest daughter, a claim that saddens the knight because he knows it isn't true. The redhead introduces herself, saying she's from the Research Institute and that it's been ages since she last saw Lloyd. But the warrior's sharp memory spots her as the magic teacher for the third prince. Finally, she calls him Beggar Number 3 as he slowly and calmly takes off his hood. Staring closely at the knight's face, he sees that the prince now has a cold and calm look in his eyes. This left him completely puzzled, wondering if that third hair had ever looked like that before. Marcus grins as he introduces himself and says it's great to see the third prince again. He also says he's relieved to see His Highness safe and sound, thanks to the mighty Imperial Guardian Dragon. But deep down inside, he's silently scolding the boy for getting no help from the Imperial Guardian at all. The man also notices that the prince's voice has changed so much so quickly that it sounds almost like a different person. He feels like he's becoming a stranger and starts to wonder if something dangerous is changing him. When the blonde suggests the knights should take the prince back to the imperial palace, the boy says he has his own destination in mind. He speaks quietly, afraid the man won't be happy to hear that he doesn't want to go back to the imperial castle. The knights stand in stunned silence after waiting all these days just to get their hair done for one final mission. He tells the knight to let the soldiers at the gate stand down since they are no longer needed. He speaks up without fear and declares he is going to the capital. The magistrate believes His Highness has lost his mind and questions if he truly understands the strange words he is speaking. Inside his head, he's seething with anger, unable to understand why a prince of the empire would dare walk straight into the enemy's command tent. When he saw the hero reach into his clothes, he panicked, wondering what deadly thing the man could be pulling out if he didn't get out of the way. The boy's plan is already happening, and he yells that he will cut down the warrior if they don't move, which is both an order and a warning from the great prince. The man is shocked to hear that line because he knows the pig is harmless, yet the sheer boldness of it still catches him off guard. And in truth, this was exactly the chance he had been waiting for, a fight to free his daughter from the hare's grip. After thinking it over for a long time, he finally draws his swords, ready to slay the one he hates. Suddenly, a sharp pain shoots through his shoulder, stealing his focus from the fight for just a few seconds. Right then, the boy asks if Marcus is okay, but Marcus just says he's fine and wants to keep fighting. His anger was so intense it nearly tore his shoulder right out of the socket. He starts to think this whole mess is just a joke and feels he has no time to deal with the prince's foolishness, but the joke feels more real by the minute, making the knight wonder if the prince has suddenly gone crazy. He looks proud and scary as he declares himself a sword master, noting that only 3 people in the world hold that title. But the boy already knew this and was waiting for the man to stubbornly refuse to move, so the plan worked perfectly until he mocked him by asking how His Highness could hurt him, eager to see his fighting strategy. In this game, there's a spot for everyone, and no matter how impossible a task seems, a secret way to solve it always exists, yet the man is so sure of his own power that he honestly says he could take down the air with just a tiny, weak branch. Fearless, he laughed and claimed Lloyd could beat him with just a toothpick, which made everyone burst out laughing. But he steps in fast to stop the scene and asks if that is truly what will happen. Knowing how the game plays out, he points out that he knows the man hasn't used his right arm in a long time. He laughs and asks if his shoulder hurts, then challenges him to see if he can really win when the odds are so stacked against him. Proud of his talents, the man says he'll stay alone no matter what, even with his broken arm. This knight is the very definition of self-assurance, having climbed to the highest peak of swordsmanship. As he steps closer, he leans in to whisper a secret to his rival. He knows exactly why the other man wants to win the fight. The blonde girl is left speechless and tries to calm things down by claiming His Highness is just talking nonsense. Then the prince asks the soldier how long he plans to worry about his grown son and if he doesn't think that is a bit shameful. When the boy says something that makes him furious, the soldier draws his sword in a split second, ready for what he thinks will be an easy fight. Calling the boy a brainless brat with a loose tongue, he finally unsheathed his blade, ready to defeat him. He believes a dad needs to know when to respect his son's choices and let him live his own life. Feeling annoyed, he admits that the prince's plan to make him mad worked perfectly, because now he's so angry he's ready to send the prince straight to the afterlife. With a sword in his hand, the prince laughs and says that since the man has been insulted and drawn his blade, this is the perfect time for a duel. He then shouts a challenge to Gillison, the 3rd prince of the Belgic Empire, and by the kingdom's laws, he has no choice but to accept the duel. Keeping his plan in mind, the prince nods without a second thought, already knowing exactly what to do next. He told his men to leave this duel alone. Confidently, he jokes that even a 9-star swordsman would have no chance against him, but as the story goes, things are rarely what they first appear. Truth is, everything is going exactly as planned, and the man is walking straight into a fight he can't win. A system message pops up with a surprise duel, and the blonde hero accepts the challenge, ready to keep fighting. Even though his opponent is the greatest swordsman around, the MC refuses to be seen as just a forgotten prince. He knows he's talented, acting like a true professional gamer with the heart of a prince, and his mission is clear: beat his opponent, alone Lloyd, to win the battle. A few days before they reached the portal to Oryx, the boy was yelling that he would beat Marcos Lloyd. The warrior cried hard while the redhead looked exhausted and worried as everything around them fell apart. They thought he was turning mad and falling ill, so they rushed to care for him, fed him, and even told him to rest. Grumbling with irritation, the witch begged to go back home and tell her master that he was losing his mind. As they cooked for the coming deadly battle, the followers of the god of vengeance worried that this might be their last meal. But the boy had a plan and shouted for everyone to listen before anyone could act on a whim, because he knew exactly what he was doing. The captain's daughter, full of worry, said that their usual tricks wouldn't work because the man was far too skilled and clever in the field. Sadly, the hero knew the pig could only do 3 things: eat, gamble, and bet. His condition was so bad that even 9 beginner players from the GFW world could beat him. He knew deep down that promising to beat a level 9 warrior was nothing short of crazy. If he were in the other guy's shoes, he'd probably laugh hard at this crazy talk from a random person, but the redhead just watched him go off the deep end and listened to the whole plan to see if he should run or follow him all the way. The boy's heart raced with joy because his teacher was the only person who still believed he could think clearly. That boost in confidence let him speak up, and after he thanked her, the little witch started explaining her whole plan. She didn't give any details, just said she'd bet her life on a fight with the Empire's best warrior and walk away the winner. The two were so stunned they couldn't believe the plan could work, but the boy, unaware of their shock, just shrugged and said it was easy to do. The sorceress, fed up, slapped her disciple and called the idea of fighting Lloyd completely crazy. He joked that any dog wandering by would laugh at his words, and even while getting hit, he insisted that the challenge team has the right to set the rules for this noble duel. That fact from Imperial law helped calm both girls a bit. The clever boy declared he'd make the rules of the fight so he'd win. It was made clear that GFW isn't just about raw power, because with the right matchups, you can beat any challenge no matter how high the level, a trick the protagonist had used over and over again when he was still a pro player. Though he once lost to a silly water slime, he proved that smart traps and mind tricks can beat even the toughest enemies without swinging a single weapon. Back then, he smashed his monitor in anger because losing to such a weak enemy felt so humiliating. Since he set the rules and the warrior agreed to watch, he was going to win, so they asked what kind of rules he planned to use. In the end, the captain would never agree to a duel where the rules made him lose before even starting. The warrior swore he wouldn't fight a duel with unfair rules, because his honor as a knight was too precious to gamble. The boy, a sharp and skilled gambler, answered that he would set down 3 rules. First, there would be no magic, only the clash of sword against sword. Second, if either girl's sword touched the ground, the other would win right away. Third, and most importantly, they had to fight without armor, which left the 2 girls in total shock. But right after that, they began to doubt the boy's plan, claiming those rules wouldn't help him a bit. With her patience worn out by his mistakes, the sorceress whipped a vine into existence and commanded her student to spin around so she could punish him properly. She didn't realize that the punishment actually helped him by giving the boy back his strength and skills. The warrior admitted that banning magic might hinder the captain, but then realized the man was far too skilled for such a limit to matter. With ropes binding the boy from head to toe, the redhead sneered at him and joked about how he couldn't even knock the captain's sword out of his hand. The knight refused the final rule of fighting without armor, claiming it would be too dangerous for his lord's health. The pig was so sure of himself that he calmed everyone by telling them the magistrate wouldn't send him to the afterlife. If he did that, he'd lose everything forever and might make a terrible choice just because he was so angry. Even though they had spoken, the prince's friend couldn't stop worrying about whether he would be safe. He cried, saying swords don't have eyes and nobody can guess what will happen, but the boy nodded and chose to see things from a different angle. He urged everyone to picture the scene with the eyes of a master swordsman who had already reached the peak of his skill. Suddenly, a dog, or maybe just a beginner, steps forward to challenge them to a fight, leaving them wondering how they'd feel about such a bold idea. The knight chuckled, thinking it was hilarious and ridiculous, with no idea the protagonist was already deep in his own story, so the curious boy asked what he would do in that spot, wondering if the knight would beat the new recruit or show off his skills proudly. But the knight quickly replied, promising never to do it because he had to keep his honor. After all, swordsmen aren't assassins and are taught never to humiliate their foes. The redhead stepped closer and warned that an accident could still happen, but the MC shook her head and promised that with a rank 9 opponent, it would never be a problem. Even though he wasn't very skilled, he fought hard so he wouldn't get caught off guard and make Carl or anyone else worry. That's why he knew the Marcos couldn't hurt him, because a swordsman who loves someone would never fight with his full heart. The boy insisted that fighting without armor or magic was safer, so he promised to be careful and stay out of trouble, which finally convinced his friends to stop worrying. They realized everything finally made sense and knew the battle was going to be wild. The boy laughed and looked easy, saying Lloyd didn't need armor to beat him no matter how hard he tried. The plan was to leave the opponent in pieces, a shock to his friend who stared in silence. He quickly asked why he wanted to do such a cruel thing to the Empire's warrior. The boy thought hard and then told himself that the man was just a boring roadblock standing in his way to the future. By speaking the words aloud, he admits there is something secret between them and that he isn't ready to show what he really wants, not just yet. His friend felt puzzled by what he said but didn't quite get it. The witch joins in, wondering what secret might have passed between them, but the boy just smiles and changes the subject by saying it's time to eat. All eyes turn to the campfire as the MC steps up to ask everyone to listen closely to what he has to say. Knowing everyone in the game, he admits the knight looks strong and perfect on the outside, but hides a huge secret weakness deep inside. But the crowd laughed as if the captain were weak, and everyone knew the mix of magic and sword fighting just wasn't that good. As they stared at the servant, they admitted that mixing magic with swordplay was still a skill nobody had mastered yet. They compare him to other masters who possess such talent far more clearly, unlike the man, but the protagonist interrupts to say he isn't talking about signs of greatness, leaving everyone confused about what the boy really means. The knight's right shoulder is badly damaged and numb, which gives him a real advantage in fighting a duel. This leaves the